In this video, we're going to learn how to multiply 1 and 2 digit numbers. So you can easily multiply something like 6 times 7. If you remember your times tables, you can. That's easy. And we can do, if I wanted to do 6 times 70, I do the 6 times the 7. And because I'm multiplying by 70 powers of 10, I add a 0. And if I was to do 6 times 700, I know that's a 3-digit number. It would be 42 and then 2 zeros. But what about if I had something like 21 times 5? Or if I had something like 21 times 62? How do I do that? Let's have a look. It was 21 times 62. So I'm going to show you two different methods. And let's do 21 times 5 first. That's the easiest. So I could consider 21 times 5 as I can break 20 up and I can do 20 lots of 5. And then I can do one extra lot of 5 and I add them up. So 20 times 5 is 100 because 2 times 5 gives me the 10. Add the 0. 1 times 5 is 5, and then you can add them up. And that's fairly straightforward. So let's look at something like 73 times 8. Doesn't look as easy because we're multiplying by 8. So I can break 73 up into 70 and 3. And I just multiply both by 8. So 7 times 8 is 56. And we've got another 0. 3 times 8 is 24. And then you can add them up. And I know you're nice and neat. So you've got make sure you've got your place value the same. And there's your answer. But there's actually another way of doing it. So that's method 1. Let's look at another way of doing it. Or it's not necessarily another way of doing it. It's just setting it out differently. And I can set it out like this, 21 times 5. And I can multiply the 5 with the 1, and I get 5. And the 5 with the 2, and I get 10. And do I get the same answer? I certainly do. Let's have a look with 73 times 8. So, 8 times 3 is 24. Oh, so it's a bit like adding. I can only put the units down. So 8 times 3 is 24. And I have to carry that 2 over into the tens. And then I add it on. So 8 times 7 is 56. 56 plus 2 is 584. So there'll be a method that you prefer and you choose it. So let's have a look at, what question did I give you? So let's have a look at that one. So it's a little bit more challenging this time. I can break the 21 up into a 20 and a 1. I can break the 62 up into 60 and 2. And I can do this little grid thing. So 20 and 1. And I'm going to multiply 60. And I'm going to multiply the 2. Okay. So you just do all these multiplications. So 1 times 60 is 60. 1 times 2 is 2. 20 times 60, 2 times 6 is 12. And I've got 2 zeros. So I put 2 zeros in. And 20 times 2 is 40. And so I'm going to add all these numbers up. And that will give my answer. And if I add those up, I get 2. 6 plus 4 is 10. Put down the 0, carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. And there's my answer. There's another way of setting it out. And I always put the bigger number at the top. It doesn't matter. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply by this one. And remember, this one is units. All ones. Okay, and that's important when we come to the next bit. So 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 6 is 6. That's straightforward. So what I'm doing is I'm doing 62 times 1 and then 62 times 20. So now I multiply by 2. I said I'm multiplying by that 20. And because it's multiplying by a 10, you've got to add that 0. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 6 is 12. So when I add that up, 2 plus 0 is 2. 6 plus 4 is 10. 2 plus 1 is 3. And you get the same answer. So you will prefer either method 1 or you'll prefer method 2. And it doesn't matter which way you choose, okay? Just stick with it. I'm going to do another example. So let's look at 37 times 56. So that just looks a little bit harder. There's no nice 1s, 2s or 5s to multiply by. So if we were to do it with method 1, okay, I can break that 37 up into 30 and 7. Okay, and the 56 can be broken up into 50 and 6. So let's multiply. 30 times 50, 3 5s are 15, and I've got 2 zeros. Then let's do 7 times 50. 7 times 5 is 35, and I've got 1 0. 30 times 6, 3 6s are 18, and I've got 1 0 there. And last but not least, 7 times 6 is 42. So I then proceed to add all those values up. And the hard thing here is actually, I think this one takes a little bit more time, but it might be easier. Okay, and you just got to remember, you get every single number there. Okay, and you've got to be careful to use these ones. Oh, looks a bit like Christmas. So add that up. I've got a 2. 5 plus 8 is 13. 13 plus 4 is 17. 5 plus 3 is 8. Plus 2 is 10. And I get 2072. Now, if I wanted to do method 2, I do 37. Oh, I'm going to do 56 on top. It doesn't matter, remember, but it's easy to multiply by the smaller numbers sometimes. Personal. 7 times 6 is 42. So put down the 2, carry the 4. 7 times 5 is 35. 35 plus 4 is 39. And this is where this one gets a bit messy. Now I'm going to multiply by that 3, but remember it's 30. And we've got that 30 up there, so I'm going to put a 0. 3 times 6 is 18. Put down the 8, carry the 1. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16. So let's see if I get the same answer when I add these up. 2, 9 plus 8, 17. Guess what? You get the same answer. So the choice is completely yours, and it'd be interesting to know which one you prefer.